First though, as the water begins to recede, residents and businesses have begun the heartbreaking task of returning home to assess the damage. For many, it'll be days, even weeks, before the clean-up is complete.
Tim McCann has been living upstairs, watching from above as the water rose around him. But this morning, he was well and truly brought back down to earth.
Doors, they're gone. They're all walked. Back doors, front doors, they're all gone.
The water came up to here on Tim's staircase and covered his home in mud. In the carpets, on the walls and ruined tiles. Even appliances moved to higher ground couldn't be saved. He won't have hot water for days.
We knew it flooded in 1990, but we thought we had everything covered, but obviously not.
Today is Tim's wife's birthday. He didn't want her to come home to this. It's backbreaking work that will take weeks. A dozen businesses are hard at work too, moving truckloads of furniture back in. After a week of no work, the local Toyota dealership must reopen tomorrow.
The loss of business for a week, yes, and the inconvenience of having to move everything in and out.
While many locals are beginning to rebuild their lives, there's more than 60 properties still cut off. They could remain that way for weeks.
Depending on how fast the water moves through, depends on how long they'll remain isolated.
One of the biggest things the council's now going to push for is an automatic gauge here, so that SES crews no longer have to paddle out to this.
I think it's barbaric that you have to have SES people rowing in or paddling in floodwaters to try and get a reading.
The Mayor will hold a debrief with her community in the coming weeks. In Forbes, Alex Bernhardt, Prime 7 News.
For farmers around Forbes, it was a similar story today, coming back home to count the cost. More than 60 properties are still isolated, but today we visited one farmer with a damage bill into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Noel Pengilly lived through the 1990 floods. He hasn't seen devastation like this for more than 20 years.
What do you do? Just dust yourself off and start again, or in this case, towel yourself off.
Today, Noel drove us around his farm. It's the first time he's got this far in weeks, and the damage is serious and widespread. Hundreds of hectares of quality country washed away, at least a kilometre of irrigation channels ruined, and 10 k's of fencing worth 40 grand knocked to the ground.
Some of them are made for floods, but they didn't work. So the structural engineer's in trouble.
But the structural damage is the least of Noel's worries. Around 450 hectares of lucerne, good for at least another 4 years, has been flattened. And then there's this, lucerne seeds sent a kilometre away from where they were planted.
It was harvested by flotation, so it's not real good.
It'll be months before Noel knows the true extent of the damage, but he still knows plenty of locals worse off.
We've got damage to property, like houses and equipment and machinery and that. We've had none of that, so we're pretty fortunate, really.
It could be weeks before Noel can access the rest of his property. Then the painful task of counting the cost begins. In Forbes, Alex Bernhardt, Prime 7 News.
There's still a lot of roads still closed around Forbes. In fact, there's still a lot of water, as we've just seen on the ground. Dozens of bridges are underwater, and we'd urge you all to take care. Some of the roads closed include Pinnacle Road, Forest Road, Battery Hill Road, Bogan Gate Road, Henry Parks Way at Southern Cross, South Condo Road and the Newell Highway between Forbes and West Wyalong. If you'd like more information, you can go to the Prime 7 website. While the flood threat for Forbes has eased, it's only just the beginning for towns further downstream. Water coming from at least 3 directions is heading straight for Condobolin. The Lachlan is expected to peak at 7 metres there sometime on Wednesday. More than 50 residents in the Lachlan's path have already been urged to evacuate, but the town itself should escape any damage.
Most of the township and residential areas will actually be out of the 7 metre mark, so most of them we're hoping will be okay.
And we'll bring you a full report with the latest from Condobolin on Wednesday.